of a browser sound here. I'm gonna do a timer for 5 minutes. The stream should be live, so you can boot it up if you want to see the chat as well. I'm gonna post an announcement. By the way, today's map we played was a little bit insane.
I think the sound is good for you.
Is it? Okay.
I think it sounds
good.
And did you mean the fort map?
Yeah.
Alright, I don't have any in-game sounds.
You don't have an in-game sound?
Yeah, when I only listen on Discord.
Oh yeah, right. I might have to come back. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, but I don't think it matters. It should just... I
think I can modify it so that you can actually hear it. Currently output device is it audible now? Or I could switch to this. I guess I can just keep it default. You can maybe have the audio from the stream then. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, stream should have all the audio.
Yeah, the stream has audio.
Okay,
so
good.
It doesn't really matter. It just... I will just have to watch Discord without any sound.
Yeah. You have 3 minutes left on the counter. I'm just gonna make sure that everything is set up correctly. I have some messages, so I'll just go through those. So yeah, to capture, I had to just get rid of the VBEX, and instead I'm just capturing it with just regularly OBS directly to capture the camera. I'm not using the green screen though, so behind me you can see my room. It's just a wall, so hopefully that's not too disrupting.
Yeah, it's very white, but it doesn't matter.
It's a sharp contrast because I'm also very white, so might look a little bit off.
I think it's fine.
Alright.
At least we can see your face now. Like some colors in it.
Yeah, it's not like last time. Last time it was really strange. I guess the green screen didn't do me any favors. I might have to figure out how to do the lighting properly. I think having a good cover for my light that's in the room might be good. Because currently it's like exposed light bulb. I know it makes it sound like I'm living in a basement, but yeah, it's just an exposed light bulb, so it's really bright. So if I get some sort of cover on it, maybe that's gonna help out.
Yeah, it should help a little bit. Or if you go and look for another light bulb that has a warmer light.
This one is like straight white, not really yellowy, so...
I don't remember what kind of light my light bulb in here has, but I know IKEA has some nice ones where you can like see which hue they are and compare them easily.
That's good. I'm gonna look for the cover most likely because we talked about it with Kate, so she's gonna probably pick it up soon, and then maybe we could have the cam on more often.
I would like it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that it's actually pretty good. Because it feels like you're actually talking to a person rather than a voice. So yeah, I do agree with that. That's what makes Blubber streams stick out from other streamers in DDR community, because most of them actually don't use cams, even Jake does not. And for a good reason, I can understand it, but it's a minority on Twitch, since most channels actually do use cams, even if they are really scrubby streams, they will still use cam.
It sure helps a lot.
Yeah, the appeal is definitely noticeable, I guess. Alright, so we have just a couple of seconds left on the timer, so let's shut it off, and I welcome everyone. Today we are here to take a look at Fairbuy city on my map called Barnabas Tarsum, which was his attempt to get a mod privilege, which he has achieved. And today we are gonna take a look at his city and stages of development, because Fairbuy has created several saves throughout this run, so that we can see the stages of the city development and such. And first thing we will do is take a look at the map proper. So this is how the map looks like. It's one of my later creations. It's actually one of my favorites because of the rough terrain, so you cannot really get away with very standard blocks. And the economic difficulty is definitely there. Also, if we take a look at overlay for natives, you can actually see that it is not my usual self where you just carpet them everywhere, but it's still a fair amount of them, and they can be dangerous. Of course, they occupy all the valuable spots. There's a native trading hut, but it's inaccessible for the most part, so you can trade with them, but it's not gonna bring you insane amount of money since they need to pass through this, so no stockpile close by. And there is an entry point right here. Exit point is all the way through the map on this side. You start with pre-built settlements on the map. The map has been made before the recent Augustus health update, which means that these people in the desert are gonna have tough time. They will all die out of pestilence, and you only start with pitiful amount of money because you are supposed to rely on that. In terms of money, you can have several trade routes that are already open, so at least there's that. You can trade marble and timber for something, but the prices are really low. If you take a look at that, you can sell marble for 65. So I did play this map on stream, I think twice or thrice, and I did beat it. It's pretty good, as I said, I like it because of how complex it is, but the start is definitely difficult. You also have one pre-placed vines farm that you cannot rebuild, so need to take good care of that. Also, there are pre-placed forums throughout the map which you need to use to tax people, because otherwise you won't be able to build forums. And also you start with one small temple to each god, but apart from that you don't really have access to small temples. So marble is crucial, and early work camp and architect's guild is also very crucial. Any thoughts on the map before we talk about it more? Fairbuy?
No, I kind of liked it. I took a look at it before I started building, and I think I had to restart 3 times in total because I couldn't get the mid-game to work out, but I managed to push through the heavy start at least each time.
The start is quite difficult, but as you said, I think it takes a good amount of planning, especially if you're not doing it on stream, so you don't have the pressure of beating it in one attempt as quickly as possible. You can just take a look and evaluate everything quite well to fit stuff, but if you are used to just ad hoc slapping things down, you are gonna have some problems here. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, I had to experiment a little bit. The first time I built too much at the same place, so this run where I succeeded, I had to spread it out a lot more. Also, the food is quite limited. It's deceiving because you can fish quite a bit, but it doesn't support crazy amounts of people around the starting area, and the farms, since they are only fruit farms, they suck. So yeah, also fertile land, there seems to be plenty of it, but it's really not. I mean, there is more than enough food on the map itself, it's just everywhere, so not in a really good locations early on. But the biggest problem was honestly the pestilence. It was
the pestilence
really annoying to play with.
I can understand that. Also, one thing I would change if I ever return to the map, which is unlikely because it's safe edited, but if I was doing a change, I would actually widen the river a little bit by at least a couple of tiles so that the ships can properly pass. You can use this trade, and I did help you to figure it out, but it's really annoying. So yeah, that's one of the things I would change.
I placed it at the wrong place first. I really struggled to understand why the ships weren't arriving. Apparently the river was too small for them.
Yeah. You need to place the dock in exactly the correct spot, otherwise they won't spawn, which is really annoying. So If I could, I would modify it, but it's really difficult to come back now. Also, I'm gonna just quickly mention the chat people. So welcome Barnabas, welcome, and welcome Hukin. It's Z3 again. Oh yes, it is. And Fairbuy is with me in Discord chatting. That's correct. And we are evaluating his city on this map. So currently, we are just taking a look at the map itself. So what's the personal salary on this map? It's kind of low, right? 5 denarii, yeah. But you started some savings. So did you donate the savings immediately, or?
No, I kept them. I needed them for the favor later on.
Yeah, the favor is really rough. You also start with 38, which is not huge, and the requests are gonna come in a little later, and it's really easy to get invaded by Caesar, since your starting money is so low. Barnabas says, I looked at this map too, but it's too many stones here to build. Yeah, but that's the good thing about it, actually. That's why I like it. Because it's not simple. Right, so this is how it looks like when you load it up. All of this is pre-built. You also have the iron mines. I think you stuck with the challenge, right? That you cannot build more iron mines until you reach 5,000 people in the city.
Yeah, I did. I did save when I reached 5,000 population, but I'm not sure if I sent you that exact save file, but I did wait for it at least.
That's good, because that adds a little bit of difficulty since you need to manage logistics with that. That was the idea behind it, anyway. You did use highways, right?
No, at the end I didn't. I did it on one run, but it cost way too much money.
Yeah, money is super precious early on. You did end up with quite a few denarii in the end, I think, but not really mid-game or early game, which is the goal.
It was late game when I had to farm favor, then I gained a lot of money.
Right, okay. So let's load up your first save and let's take a look at that. So this is gonna be it. This is how you started out. So you went into that. Is there a bailout or is there no bailout? I think there is no bailout on this map.
There is one. It's very tiny, but there is one.
Okay. So it looks like you had some stuff burned down because this prefect is actually in a pretty bad spot. He just has trouble frequenting it. Or is it? Oh, it might have been fumigations.
Yeah, pestilence. So this is a stage where I had started going positive in economy for a while, and I started building my temples, so... Yeah,
I can see that here. So you spend some money on it. It's 150 per temple plus labor camp plus architect's guild. So that's an investment. I like the block that you've set up here. It's not too big, which means worker efficiency is still retained, while it's really easy to go and think, oh yeah, I can build a block around this lake, but it's too large, so you will struggle with covering everything with walkers. This is much better, much cleaner.
I tried building 2 blocks one time as well, but that was way too much people.
Yeah, you just cannot feed it. Yeah. And that's your online? No, you have another block here. This is actually a pretty good spot to put it. It's a little bit close to the invasion point, but yeah, it's better than building right here. Because if you tried, you will know that this area is absolutely covered by rocks. It's really tough to squeeze in anything in here, and it's also far away from the forum, so...
Yeah, I wanted to build at least one of the first blocks by a forum, but
I
can't get all my blocks close to one. Like
there is one forum here, but it's really tough to get it to work with your block.
Exactly, so I just left it alone.
Right, yeah, we can see the fumigations hit the desert dwellers really hard. You are making some weapons at the iron mines. Each place has its own workshop. Yeah, looks like it. Oh, this one is just accepting, right?
It's just for iron.
Yeah, right. And then you have the dock. Were you using it for trade or?
Not yet. I used it much later.
Yeah, right. So the perfect solution to it might actually have been to just, if you don't want to spend a couple denarii to remove it, you could just modball it all and let it collapse, or keep the forum running, but and the temple, but remove this because it's excess wages. But I guess you had quite a few people. Yeah, okay. Other text people. Well, you can only build nearby the pre-placed forums, and you can build one senate. But apart from that, you cannot tax people with a regular way where you would build forum whenever you want. It's one of the challenges.
So when I built my luxury palaces, or tried to build them, I had to think about which place I wanted to have them at, because it was really hard to build them close to the forums.
Yeah. That's the goal behind it. I see that you set up the marble industry nearby the entrance. Very good call. I do like that as well, even though it's gonna impact your caravans, because if you ever import clay, they will just ping pong. But it's good because it's quick income, and in here on this map, the map is actually quite large, so the caravans do take quite a while to reach the end. So getting those things out there on the market as quickly as possible is something that I always feel like it's priority.
Yeah, they did go back and forth a bit with the clay, but I managed to balance it eventually.
You chose this location for the temples for a specific reason. I see that you didn't add them to the blocks yet, probably because of the money reasons, right?
Partly because of money, and I wanted to have them built as fast as possible.
Yeah, right. Makes sense. Since you are over the limit, gods are gonna curse you quite a bit. Let's take a look at the event log. Yeah.
Instead of building temples there, I wanted to have space to just squeeze in more buildings, because unemployment was a big problem for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Also, we have low favor, but that's expected. That is very much a resource here. You just cannot not have that. Or if you can, if you are Trollgu, but Trollgu also does not play Augustus and does know everything about the game, so he can, if you've seen his cities, he can actually tailor his city to the last worker, so he doesn't have any unemployment and just knows exactly how many people he needs to run his city at all points. It's insane.
Yeah, I have never been able to do that.
So it's just mind-boggling, especially on Steam. I couldn't imagine doing that. Right, anything else to point out at this stage?
Not yet, I don't think...
Any military action? Not yet, right? No. It's too early. This is like very early game. And were you worried about military action, or...?
Yeah, a little bit. You will see where I built everything later on, but I knew that the first invasion would come from there. So I tried to plan a little bit for it, but I wasn't so worried about the first 2 or 3 invasions.
This place is good for either one block, or you could squeeze grand temples here.
You will see what I did.
Yeah, basically the only good place for them, because otherwise the map is just covered by rocks.
I noticed that I couldn't build the grand temples anywhere. I tried to look desperately for a place to put them, but you were so mean.
Yeah, very mean. Alright, so we can have, quite good efficiency on the lumber camps here. Squeezed in a couple of them, you still have some space here. I do like that. Looks like you could have used this area as well, I guess. There's a rock there actually. But I'm sure I did use this for a couple more quarries. This could also be used for some extra timber, but you wanted to keep it simple. Made a loop here, it's good. And this is a line design, it's nice. You also did squeeze in some more people here. We can see that the guard access is a problem, so you do have some shacks. So eventually these are gonna become valuable insulae, I guess. For now it's just basic. So this is a stage where you manage to get some income. It's like 2 years later.
And this is the stage where I started thinking about giving them some temples too.
Oh yeah.
When I started reaching 3,000 population, I thought I would just build new temples.
Right, it makes sense. Large ponds, beautiful. Yeah, it's like the oases. You can fish them. But it's not a large amount of fish. So this is before the earthquake happens. Looks like the desert is still doing its thing. No real expansion there, but that's fine. You did build a couple of towers on the edge of the native territory, I guess.
Yeah, I managed to squeeze them in.
Yeah, it's insane. It's quite good. mission post would have been a hassle, so that's good.
It would have worked, but when I tried a mission post there, it often got destroyed.
Yeah, that's why I mean, like, that's what would happen. Not that it would cost you too much. You could probably afford it at this point, but it's just such a pain to pacify natives at the borders usually. And you know why I place natives nearby the borders? Like this? Because usually there are not that many villages in the central areas of the map, but on the invasion points you can see that there is disproportionate amount of natives here.
Why do you do that?
It's because people camp them with tars, and you did manage to squeeze in a couple, but what I don't want is people to build kill boxes around the invasion points, because they would figure that out, and it kinda trivializes the military aspect a bit, so that's why. You did start trading with the natives, which is quite valuable, I imagine. It's nothing too crazy.
It was a bonus, but I managed to earn more money from it later on.
The temples are done, so that secures your god access for a while, but you will need to build more just to provide it to the housing. Towers are OP, that's why I disable them always. I mean, you can think that, but everything in the game can be OP. I can show you how I crash the campaign with prefects, and then you say prefects are OP, ban them. No. It's not how you balance games. You make everything good to provide people with choices or make the enemies come in larger numbers, but you don't make them be stat cheated, which means that they are impossible to kill, and you don't nerf things. You buff things to make them viable options, rather than just, oh yeah, people like this, let's just destroy the fun. At least that's my take on it, but yeah. Right.
I don't think there's anything more interesting happening.
Okay, we can just load up the third save. Let's take a look at it. So you build a caravanserai. You are making some
this is when it just finished, so I hadn't started to.
Yeah. What policy did you pick?
At the start I picked the one that makes them
Carry more?
trade more, yeah.
Yeah. I like that one.
I switched to the one that makes them pay more.
I do like your blocks here. Considering what you have to work with in terms of roughness of the terrain, I like that you are not overextending them to ask too much from them. Looks like it's just enough to keep them at what you need. There is also no plaza on here, right? No.
Exactly. Yeah. So I needed some space in the middle.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. You are using more of these farms, so feeding them fruit as well. That's good. Looks like you are starting to make some furniture, also sell that. Money is still tight, but it's all about the bulk on this map, right?
Yeah, you need to sell everything.
In large quantities. Earthquake happened, so you did manage to preserve the Neptune temple and the forum, which is crucial. This other part got cut off, but that's not really a concern. You did start to make a new dock on the other bank, and it's getting weapons, I guess?
Not yet, I just built it and prepared, and then I started to get things there.
Also built a couple of towers on this cliff, so you have some extra defenses. It's pretty good.
And I have a block in the south now too.
Oh yeah, didn't notice that. Some Bastilans here. It's good. Or was it Prefect mock-up?
It might have been Prefect actually. The block was a little bit too big.
Yeah, it looks like all the small rocks force you to make so many turns. The walkers might struggle with that. And you are giving them fruit from here. Which you did pacify these natives with this mission post. Quite efficiently done, with just one securing this place. Actually, you have another one here, right? Because you needed these. What about military? You have 2 forts. I guess you didn't want to over-invest into it because it's really expensive to run and place and then also feed.
And by this point I still managed to fight them off with towers and javelins.
What about the military challenges? Did you find them just right or too hard or too easy?
I think they were just right. There was just some annoyance with the natives later on. where they, I'm not sure if you picked the point where they will group up, but they just like spawned on the map and ran straight into my city, like on a line. They just ran
That
right
happens.
into me.
I cannot impact it. It happens randomly, it seems. Sometimes it's about aggro, so if they get fought by a person, it might be a prefect or whatever, it will cause them to just immediately beeline it for the city. But I've seen them do that even without aggro, so there might be some magic behind the scenes with that.
Especially the one at where you're looking now, they loved to just rush south. Like, not at the start, but later in the game, they just beeline.
It's good to have a little bit of a maze with palisades in here. At least like 2 layers, and have them have an access, but it takes them a couple of extra seconds, which is actually invaluable if you use javelins. You did use javelins, right? Yeah. Of course.
I used legionaries too.
You use legionaries too? Okay.
Yeah, but you will see later on that I had to put a wall up there to block them off, because they just kept running into my town.
That makes sense. So population is 3,200, and you are gonna build some temples to these blocks now, right? It's probably your
should
next...
be the next save.
Yeah, because the taxes are something that you are direly lacking now. I guess the scaling, if you take a look at the economic tab, we can see you traded last year for almost 7,000, but you did spend 1,500 on imports, 3,800 on wages, and then levies of 1,000. So it's still difficult to manage the economy. But it gets better, I guess. This year you've made a profit. It's probably because you didn't do construction.
I don't remember what my wages was set at. Can you check that?
Yeah. Take a look at that.
Still 30. I know I brought it down to 27 at the time.
My husband asked how about trade with the natives? Yes, he did trade with the natives, but the closest warehouse you can get is here or
That's
here.
true. Yeah, I built it on the left later on.
Yeah, either of these places work. But so far it's only pacified, and it wasn't worth the wages and the hassle of setting up new resources here. So he just let them run into the city to get some extra goods. Yeah. Well, that's how you should set it up, unless you want your maps to be trivial. Because if I just let you build a warehouse adjacent to this, it would generate more than a freaking trade route with the Empire, which I find a little bit ridiculous. The freaking native part buys more than a city. It's
And
alright.
at this point I started selling wine as well.
Yeah, I could see that.
Caesar had asked for some pottery, so I had some left over that I started selling to the traders.
Yeah, they also buy it, and it's actually quite valuable. And if you are not using insula yet, you might as well just sell it. Also clay for monuments, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna come
But
into
I
play
think I
a little
waited
bit
a
later.
bit with that. I think I did monuments a bit later.
So overall, I'd say you did a really good job at squeezing in the industry in here. Really well thought out. Same as the blocks, everything is placed with a purpose.
I just played like I do when I don't remove any trees.
Yeah, you need to really maximize space efficiency with that. I mean, that's why I think you will come to realize that some of the maps that are out there, like this one, but also others that I've made, are actually comparable in terms of difficulty to on some maps without removing any trees, because of just the sheer terrain difficulty. So maybe you will find that enjoyable even without removing trees, which might be good.
Yeah, we will see.
The other one I recommend, it's actually quite similar. I do like that one as well. So at this point you've been on the map for something like 12 or 13 years. Favor is still at 20, so just balancing that on the knife's edge. If there was a Caesar attack, it would just end your industry. So good job with that. Because this is the entry point, so it would come right into the industry, and there is very little to actually stop Caesar from just damaging everything. Hey Zara, welcome. Face returns, what a treat, yes.
I aim to use it on this stream.
Right, so can we move on, or any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think we can move on. You covered most of it.
There we go, now some legionaries. Baron would be proud. So we made 2 forts of them. Where is your barracks?
In the middle by the warehouse. To the right.
Oh yes, right. So you're using this to supply the barracks, I guess, mainly. You do have some small casa now, so you build the temples in the blocks, that's good. Added extra houses. Started to use fish in here. The road layout looks really hideous until you realize that this is what you need to live with. There is no way to make it better. So.
And that granary was basically full all the time, so it worked well.
Yeah, it's really efficient. They are very close. It just needs to have good access. Actually, this guy is waiting for a long time, so the best way, I guess, would be to have another granary and then get it in here with a carter, so that he drops it off faster. Because they can drop it off insanely fast when it's like adjacent like this. You've built a series temple in here, made these people small casa as well, even though there is no real way to tax them. It will mean that they won't get hit by pestilence as much, and sentiment is gonna be good. So.
And I needed the prosperity.
Yes, that's also correct. This forum, I guess the walker spawns correctly. You did tailor that, right? He's not walking this path because it's connected, but...
Yeah, I thought he would spawn in the south, but he spawned above for some reason, so...
Someone does something that you want. Amazing. Hey Super G's, welcome. If Fairbuy is deemed lacking, will he lose the sword? Well, we already know that he did very, very well by beating it. And so far I'm impressed by the blocks and how he managed the map, so it's highly unlikely. Or rather...
Did I build differently than you did?
Yes. I did overbuild in this area. I did have problems feeding it, but I set up extra granaries to feed a bigger block. I did connect this forum to tax them though, so I did use that. Because I didn't build up to this cliff edge, I just squeezed them more around the lake itself.
Okay. It's not very noticeable, but the block there by the lake, I expanded it a little bit to fit the Mercury Temple.
Yeah, I can see that now, because it was like this before. Pacify this native. Yeah, a lot of timber here, but it's quite good bulk export, so that's the reason behind it. A lot of farms being placed as well, so a really good job at keeping everyone fed, which is quite difficult on this map, usually. All these people are also casa, they have Mars Temple. You did start to produce some olives and make them into olive oil and then sell it through the dock, which is good. You also do make weapons, so at this point you are over 5,000 citizens, so you started to place some extra iron mines and make sure you can produce weapons here, which is good. And I guess the sea trade route is actually quite profitable.
Yeah, it started being it when I sold oil and weapons. Before that it didn't really give me that much.
You did place the warehouse here, which is the closest point basically apart from this place. So you are making some marble to sell to the natives, which is good.
I thought about giving them a highway, but
it didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
I can understand that. So extra iron mines over here. Looks like you are setting everything up. So did you remove any of the small temples, or do you still have all of them? Looks like you
I
still
kept
have
all of them.
Yeah. Good.
I think one of the temples was removed right at the very end when an invasion pushed through me. But I managed to defeat them, but I think they took it might have been a forum that they took away.
Yeah, it sucks to lose the limited buildings on this map, but if it happens, you usually have backup, so it's not like lethal, but it still is a hit.
And by that time I had palaces, so it didn't really matter that much.
Makes sense. So looks like you are going for 2 legionaries and 3 javelin forts. Pretty good. Money seems to be better now, and you are taxing them, right? Let's take a look. Yes, you are making... Oh, you know, you are not... Maybe... Yeah, oh no, it needs to register the year, right?
Yeah, it bugged a little bit when I looked at it at times, but it did collect at least.
Yeah, and trade receipts are over 10,000, which is quite good. You did spend quite a bit on construction though this year, 5,000, that's a lot of money. But it makes sense, you do need to expand quite a bit. You also did use some of these garden walls. I guess you do like them.
Yeah,
So
I think
why.
they look nice.
Yeah.
And I
Some
placed
obelisks.
bonds everywhere I could.
So she says he likes the garden walls. It's a nice touch. Just spam small statues to the good statues. Anything else that's noteworthy? Cheaper
I don't
roadblocks,
think
yes
so.
they are. Okay, let's
I
move
think
on.
that's all.
Palisade are even cheaper, yes they are. If you want to min-max. I would actually like Carry to balance it so it all costs the same. So you cannot cheese it. There we go. There's a city. 7,300 population. Bunch of small insulae everywhere. Even these guys who don't really get covered by Dex Collector. But it's necessary for sentiment as well as health. Keep them evolved. These people don't have it yet, but pottery is limited, so it makes sense. You just cannot give it to everyone, right?
Exactly. I focused on, or I did actually give pottery to everyone at the end.
Yeah, it's not that limited. I think you can buy quite a bit of clay. It's like 40.
Yeah, I think it's 40. Yeah, 40. So I managed to give it to everyone, but it was a little bit of a struggle when I was building monuments at the same time.
Yeah, it costs quite a bit of clay. All the cheese, no bias whatsoever, yeah. So have you started... Oh yeah, you did build Ceres Grand Temple, you did build Mercury Grand Temple, which is not something I would consider too vital initially. What epithet did you pick? Pottery and furniture consumption, it makes sense actually, for the pottery.
And I wanted that because the traders will move faster, so then I could switch the caravanserai to earn more money instead.
Yeah. Ceres... Yeah, for the cart pushers, that's pretty good, and consumption rate. You also did expand your military.
As well.
So you have 6 forts, 4 javelins, 2 legionaries. One of the towers got removed for some reason here, probably by an invasion.
I think it was just in the way.
Yeah, right. And unemployment, did you turn off your military here?
I turned off the towers that I...
Yeah.
After innovation.
Makes sense. This is plentiful in terms of goods, money seems good. So you started to really get some progress going here. You did get through right about 1/3 of the timer at this point, but good progress.
And I did build a lighthouse too, to the left of the monuments.
Yes, here.
At the best location ever.
Nearby the crater.
I thought it looked nice.
Yeah. To guide the ships. Right. So... the water network. It's interesting. Say the least.
I started building the block closer to the reservoirs first, but then I changed my mind. And I was kind of low on money, so I just kept going.
Yeah. Makes sense. You did start to use this farmland nearby the squiggles of the water. Well, you can set the hotkey yourself, -1. You can just set it to whatever you'd like and then use it, like the extra button on a mouse or any key, and then use it to modball things. Just right click and modball, so you don't have to go and individual click this button. But there is something as vanilla key for it, but usually it's better to customize it. Okay, anything else to note?
That's all. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more.
But your taxes must be growing at this point quite well, right?
Kind of.
I don't think I can tell, but... Oh yeah, we can.
I'm only taxing 2 blocks, so it's not
Yeah, I can see 27%. That's because of the forum problems. It's just none of it is in a really good position, so that's why. This one, oh yeah, it's working. Good. This one is actually pretty good because there are not that many rocks in here, but it's not taxable, so that's the problem with this one.
Yeah, I thought about squeezing in a block to the right by the mountains, but
Here.
I didn't think it was worth it.
It's really awkward. It's really awkward. You could do a line block and tax a couple of people, but it's not for a regular loop. But you know, a line block would work. Just have it something like this. Maybe squeeze it like that, like that, like that. Just a line.
Yeah, probably. But it didn't feel worth it. I wanted the population. I
Like
kind
that.
of had the money I needed.
Makes sense. Out of nowhere face reveal. It actually happened last week. We had a face reveal stream, so we talked about Q&A and stuff. But Fairbuy asked that I have the face cam on for today's evaluation of his performance on this map. So that's why we have it.
At some point I started fetching pottery down to the south as well, but I'm not sure if I had started with it yet. No, not yet. Maybe the
Doesn't
next
look
save.
like it, yeah.
But I was surprised. I can tell you about it when it's there.
You did secure a triumphant arch, so I guess you sent your military to save the city.
Yeah, I think I sent like 1 legionary and 2 javelins. So it was
Is
fine.
there a military academy on the map? That isn't right. No.
Nope.
Also, how do you feel about my maps and favor racing? Favor is really precious, right?
Yeah, very precious. Personally, I would enjoy them more if the salary was 1 step higher, so you could send a little bit more gifts regularly.
Yeah, like this,
Several
it's
times.
very tight.
Yeah, it was very, very tight. It was very hard to push it up to 70 or 80.
Yeah, I can imagine. Especially when
Several-
that is just gonna happen.
Exactly. And several times I dipped below 10 and tried to fight Caesar and had to just reload the latest save.
At this point, there is so much going on so many different spots. Yes, there is. That's the deal with the maps like this. Just provide people with options. The map itself does have more food and space than necessary to fit everything, but that's not the main issue with, like, I don't think that you should limit the maximum amount of things like that too much. Rather, what you need to focus on is provide people with different choices and such, so that yes, this area is more flat but it's also nearby an invasion point, or this area has a forum but it's very rocky, while this area does not have a forum but you can squeeze a bunch of people in there. Things like that. So if I was to make a map where you just actually can only fit the required amount of things, it's more like a puzzle at that point, and Caesar 3 is a puzzle city builder to fit things in places, but having it so that there is only one solution to your problem, or like the map itself, doesn't actually seem like it's like you're not giving the player any options, you're not giving the player any freedom, and I don't think that's very good. Of course, having a flat map where you can just spam soulless blocks is not good, but this is like the stuff that you would do with just limiting it to the extent where you just cannot have any variation is not too enjoyable either, because many people actually want to design something they feel like they designed on their own in places where nobody maybe even intended it. Is that right, Fairbuy?
Yeah, it's fun to squeeze them in where they would be kind of efficient. It
Did
feels
you-
like I placed
go ahead.
blocks where you didn't really plan
Yeah,
on
yeah.
building blocks.
In this one, I did actually have a block here as well, but it was
Okay.
really awkward. In here, I didn't have one. I did have one here, but I then late game I stuck some small castles here, I think. And I did build a block here as well, so I had like 2 very close by. I didn't use this area too much. I like it, the style, not restricting the small location but splitting it several places. Yeah, like you cannot concentrate the city in one place. And it also forces you, because the food sources are so split up, you just cannot extensively farm a single location, especially since there is no wheat. It's not easy to get food worth to feed several thousand people in one place. So the expansion is kind of forced. Also, this is an irreplaceable vines farm. You cannot get more, but it's super useful. But you need to protect it, otherwise you're in trouble. I wanted to ask, what about more Grand Temples? Were you thinking about it, or was the money too tight still?
I placed one more, but it was a bit later when I had more tax income. But I did end up with 3 in total.
Okay, makes sense. So you did use gladiators, right? Is there a revolt? I think there is a revolt, right?
I don't remember there being one. I don't think you added one.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't add them to all my maps, I just don't remember the small details too much right now. It's just curious. I mean, it might be later on, but you might have beaten the map quicker than it happens. So I like to add it. Late. You did play until quite late? Yeah, because of the favor. That's right.
Exactly. I think I had a little bit less than 200 months left, and then I needed like 50 favor to win or something. So then I just sped it up and found out a way to farm favor. What
are the requests on this map? Did you feel like they were reasonable?
I think so. I think the only ones I struggled with were the weapon requests. Because I hadn't managed to fix enough what are they called? Weapon blacksmiths?
Workshops, yeah.
To get that kind of
bulk
shields and weapons, but I managed to send them away. I think I managed to successfully send away all the requests.
That's actually quite an achievement. Usually even the pottery ones are tight, but as always with imported wares, when you need to actually import raw resources to turn them into something Caesar wants, as a map creator you want to restrict it to something like 12 up to 20 maximum, but that needs like 40 available raw resources so that the player doesn't feel like I cannot reasonably stock it in a year's worth and Caesar is gonna be pissed no matter what I do, and that's the worst kind of situation. What you want to do is provide player with an incentive. Yes, you need to do this and you actually can achieve it, but you need to deal with it right now. Rather than, it's just gonna be like, he's gonna get pissed no matter what you do, but you need to stockpile it for like 2 years. And then your city is gonna die because it needs pottery. It would not be good. And it's really easy to make that mistake as well.
And the first pottery request was before I had started giving them pottery, so
yeah, that's why it was to incentivize you to actually start making it, in order to fuel your expansion as well as consider trading it, because it's an untapped source. Even though the clay is quite expensive on the map, it's still some money.
Yeah, but I think it was too... You didn't earn enough money by pottery to sell it at the start. I don't think I ever sold it actually.
It did rise though, I think, because this is not how it starts, I don't think. And you do...
It rose a little bit, but it's only like 50% profit. It wasn't worth it. I used all of it for the houses instead.
Yeah, insula are really good. Anything else that's new?
I don't think so.
You did add a couple of towers here. Natives are happily buying the marble. Alright. The statues were pretty useful. Without them this might have been pretty tough. But yeah, no plaza. What do you think about that?
I liked it. I had to squeeze in small decorations everywhere.
It's definitely different than your regular experience where just plaza is so meta, it's so good that you just sometimes never even have to build statues or anything.
Especially by the one where you commented about the statues. Over there I had to squeeze in small decorations in every little nook and cranny.
I can see that. You also changed the color variation on them. It's quite nice.
Yeah, I like doing that. It looks a little bit more varied.
Yeah, pretty good job. I especially have to say that your block shapes are pretty good. I do see that you didn't notice these two small towns here. Might have been causing some public order issues.
Yeah, not at that point at least, but I think I was working on it.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think there was a pestilence that hit it.
Yeah, it's possible. These guys want more desirability, so probably just a column there or something will solve it. Alright, so we'll move on with the saves. Mana seems alright at this point, so save 6. It's like we advanced by like 40 months or something, so that's a sizable chunk of time. You did build Venus Temple for the desirability, right? Or did you do Vine? Yeah, desirability. Yeah. Makes sense. So what do we have new? Looks like this is sort of similar.
Yeah, mostly I was focusing on expanding, so I started my villa block.
This is here. Yes. Alright. Marasbrana says on this map, too much stones and it takes a long time getting food to the loops, I think, but it's only my opinion. Well, as always with these sorts of hardcore maps that I make, it's not a map for everyone, unfortunately. There is just no way to make it so that good people cannot crush it like it's nothing, and for the regular people to still can't beat it. It's just, you can do it, but it takes a significant amount of effort to plan everything in advance, otherwise you will struggle. It's not about haphazardly slapping down things, because if you do that, you will suffer. And you will suffer regardless, because the map is cruel, but yeah, it's just with this sort of terrain, you just cannot rely on regular strategies. It's like these were
that burned down.
Yeah.
One thing I was impressed by was that the palace blocks managed to get wine from that one wine farm. I managed to get all of that wine from one single farm.
It just goes to show how efficient the wine sources are. You can just have 1 or 2 farms and your patricians are just never gonna want any extra wine. It's, you know, even with a tavern, as you do have one.
Yeah, I needed it since you didn't allow me to build a hippodrome.
Yeah, hippodrome is not allowed. Getting granaries suck. Well, do you use the option to increase the getting amount on them? You should if you don't.
I didn't.
You didn't. That's brave. Very brave. You are farming, fishing some spots over here. It's pretty good. Some cool fish. So these patricians, you are going to do 5 palaces?
Yeah, exactly.
Very irregular
At this point, I needed the Ceres Grand Temple for them to level up more.
Yeah. This is a place for a Colosseum, right?
Yep. But if you click on them, some of them will complain about that the area is too ugly for some reason. So I really needed the Grand Temple to Ceres to fix that.
It's because you are so used to having the plaza that you never realize how much desirability it actually takes when you don't have it. Yeah.
So the Ceres large temple is building there. Once that was built, it got fixed.
Venus, right? And Ceres.
Oh, sorry, Venus.
Yeah. Venus for the desirability. Trade area is more dense, more throughput, so that's good. Money seems alright at this point. 8,800 population, and still doesn't feel like you are floating too much unemployment, right?
Yeah, I struggled with it for the whole time actually.
Yeah, you did.
And at this point, the marble export to the natives had, I think they burned down, but I can't remember. Or no, I built by the natives by mistake, and they just charged in down. For some reason, they focused on that part. On the whole map, everyone went up there.
What's this about?
I think they devolved. The southern block lost access to something.
Oh, yeah, right. Makes sense. So request for marble, so that's pretty reasonable, keep it at 32 goods. So many people like to put it over 32. What do you think about it?
As long as it's not more than 64, I'm fine with it. So
I'm even fine with
chemistry.
120, but it needs to be done correctly, so that you have only several sources of marble, for example, and I'm gonna have those warehouses anyways, and then Caesar is gonna ask for it, and it's good. But if it's like, yeah, you can just build it all in here for one warehouse, and then suddenly you have to build 5 warehouses, it's just not good. So if you naturally have to progress towards having multiple sources covered, it makes sense, unlike when you have to build artificial warehouses to delete them later. Same with granaries.
Yeah. But I think that's all for this save. The population grows a lot, but not that much is happening.
Right, are you considering Grand Temple to Mars?
Nope.
No. You know the military is not too crushing.
Yeah, and I don't think I had space for him.
Yeah,
Maybe
it would be
just
difficult
squeezed
to
him in
fit it.
somewhere, but
Yeah, there are places. I think you could squeeze it, but it's really tough. I think this place generally doesn't have much in terms of rocks. Yeah.
Oh, true. I didn't even check that.
Yeah, it looks deceiving. That's why desert maps are actually quite tough. Because these small tufts, this thing, actually looks deceptively similar to some of the rocks. Like this is a rock and this is a shrub. So if it's in a larger area, it's just really difficult to interpret it as this is a removable and this is removable. So, you know, it just overall looks like, oh, I cannot build anything, but you can. It's just even removing things, like that's the deal with this map. I remember that when testing it, it was like even removing, like you would usually remove trees with like no real concern, just carpet down the dig tool. While on this map, you even consider if you remove 10 extra trees or not early game, because it costs so much money, because you only get so little for the trade. It was actually a real cool feeling for the dig tool feature to actually have a meaning, rather than just, yeah, I'm gonna pay whatever to clear what I need.
Yeah, even at this stage, I struggled with economy, with the trade.
I mean, 4,000 is not a lot for this city of this scope. On other maps, you would be floating tens of thousands, most likely.
One of the mistakes I did was to, when I built monuments, I used the trade wood as a source for my building wood as well, and that just tanked my economy until I figured out what was happening.
Yeah.
I just emptied the warehouse, and then there was nothing left to sell.
You also do give timber to the lighthouse. What kind of policy did you pick? Exports, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, I noticed that they managed to sell out most of the things anyways. The sea trade was quite small.
Right. Anything else to note?
I don't think so. The big thing here was that I started getting the villas ready.
This is 6, so I'm gonna go to 7. So you have 10,000 population. 12,000 has to go on this map, which is quite high for most maps, I'd say. Maybe a little too high. Colosseum is being built, that's good. Patricians, some of them are still not evolved to their full potential. It's probably desirability and food types. You need a third food type, so you are probably not importing that yet.
You can check the granaries. I think I started importing.
Oh yeah, wheat. Wheat is there.
But the big thing here was that I started giving the southern blocks pottery. I had a warehouse fetching it from other places.
Yeah, I can see that. And here as well. There are some houses which are not leveled up correctly, some 1x1s as well, which is not great, but it works. Pottery warehouse. And these blocks actually are evolved up to large insula. And you did fix the small tents here. Favor is at 30, so constant struggle with favor. Yeah, money was probably still tanking. You are at 2,000. It's not much.
Yeah,
I guess the
once
patricians, it
they-
just costs so much to
Yeah,
get them
exactly.
going. Yeah.
They didn't give me that much tax income yet, but once the Colosseum was built, I started earning a lot of money, which you will see on the next save, I think.
Yeah, it's just a huge difference. But we need the infrastructure for it to actually be able to afford it. Cannot reasonably rush the monuments or anything here. It just needs to be gradual expansion. That was the goal behind it. I think I mentioned it in the description of the map. So that you are supposed to just expand very slowly and gradually, and the events are set up in such a fashion that it's not gonna outscale you too hard. So that's why the time limit is actually quite extensive. Looks like... So it's gonna be 5 patricians. I think that's gonna be enough, right? If you keep all the rest at Insulae.
I didn't actually need everything else at Insulae. I only got a few blocks to
Castle.
Grand Insulae even. But
You'll see that later, I guess.
Yeah, I think the next save is basically when I won.
So let's go ahead and take a look at it.
Oh no, it's 2 more saves. So this one is when I started going for favor, I think. Farming favor.
You can see the palaces.
But you can see my money already now. Now I don't
Yeah,
worry
insane.
at all.
It's from the patricians, right?
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Makes
And
sense.
this is quite early in the year. I think I got a little bit more than 1,000 from each.
Definitely adds up. Offsets the levy nicely.
Already at this stage I had 100 prosperity, so that was no problem.
Just grind the favor. And how do you feel about culture rating being disabled?
I liked it. I wouldn't have minded if it was like 50 or 60, but...
To have it
when there
naturally
was none.
grow, right?
Exactly, but when there was 0, I just didn't have to bother.
And culture rating is a joke in general. It doesn't reflect anything because you can just build stuff and it immediately counts it. So it's not like this, it proves the city's stability or anything. Unlike prosperity, where you actually have to spend years with the city functioning to accumulate it.
Exactly. But I think the big thing here was the palaces and the block I built above it for the last bit of
Yeah, this is a new addition. You squeezed it in by the cliffs. It sure looks quite nice. This is a cliff high ground area around it.
Yeah, there was one house that refused to get pottery or something, but they understood after a while.
Good. Could have used cliff dwellers, I guess. How do you feel about the farmland on the map?
I liked it. It was fun to have to spread them out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's just a
Get it
little
from
bit here and there.
sources.
If you zoom out, you can see the areas. It's just everywhere. Some of them do have quite a bit of food, like this one. But still, you did have to use these outlying areas, which is good. I also ended up using them. Since I didn't actually tap this source, I actually did struggle a little bit more with food. So I did have to farm more around here, I think, and then here as well, and here. So that was kind of awkward for me. You did also go with quite a few towers. That's smart because the attacks will gradually increase in size. You are at 198 months remaining, which is not a long time, so makes sense that the attacks are insane. I think I mentioned that the map is not heavily into military, but if you wait long enough, the late game is gonna feature maximum size attacks.
And this is the part where I had to build a wall to protect because they just charged at me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the towers helped, but they just ran past them.
Yeah. It would maybe help to set military up there, but I also like to build them up in here because this I feel like is the most exposed point with the Grand Temples usually. So unemployment 10%, yeah, quite high. But at least there is plenty of trade routes, so you can always build more industry, I guess. Or rather, in the early and mid game, it doesn't feel like I built 12 workshops and then I don't have anything to do and I still need like 5,000 people. So it usually is bad, especially when you don't have to access to patricians.
Yeah, I basically
Stuff
got
like
to that stage when I had 10,000 population.
Yeah,
and
but
everything
that's
was stable.
usually on most maps you run into that problem on 10,000 pop. Even in 8,000 population cities, I usually have to do some labor sponging unless the trade is very plentiful. But it goes...
I think that's all.
Yeah.
I think it's the win save next.
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
And not that much has changed. I have
Yeah,
used
just
a lot
favor.
of months.
Yeah, 116 months left, so sub 10 years. But yeah, a pretty well used timescale. I think the map was not too hard on the time limit. I feel like people can manage to beat it reasonably well. I never saw anyone complain about it. And you did mention that you are not used to playing maps with time limits before much.
Yeah, it makes me a little bit more stressed.
Nervous. Yeah, I can understand why, but the thing you need to realize, it actually is more time than you realize. If you look at that number, it just feels like it's constantly ticking down, and it is. But in terms of like gameplay wise, it's balanced, so you don't outweigh all the events. That's the only reason it's there. So if you don't get like massively behind in terms of game scale, you will be fine. And it's tough to do that because the map will usually kill you before you can manage that. So you ended up with 62,000 denarii, it's quite a bit. 12,000 pop, 100 prosperity, 100 peace, 63 culture, 77 favor. So yeah, I guess you are just pointing on the gifts, yeah.
Yeah, I saved right before I sent it.
Right.
And there I had to build more towers by the Grand Temples because you sent a huge barbarian invasion or native invasion. And they just stormed in the first time and destroyed all my Grand Temples.
That is really bad. But it didn't stop you from winning the map, that's good.
No, that's the only time I really had to reload and have some pre-knowledge about the invasions because I built tons of towers and moved all the soldiers there before time and was ready for them.
That's something people sometimes do. I still think it's beatable even without that, but you need to do some pathfinding cheese with the palisades. Just
I need to build the Grand Temples further away.
Yeah, that's also true. I would have them instead of the forts and have the forts instead of the temples. Switch the positions a bit.
But that's the only invasion I had to cheat.
That's understandable, it's fine. As I mentioned, the map is not supposed to be too heavy into military, but if people like military action, there's an incentive to wait extra time because the last couple of years feature maximum size attacks. It's specifically mentioned in instructions, which you did read after, right? Because you told me that you initially didn't realize you cannot build iron mines early on, but that's one of your attempts, and then later on you did follow the rule, right?
Yeah, when I started playing this map the first time, which was like half a year ago, I did read the instructions, but then I gave up on the map and just pushed it aside for a while. And then I started playing it again, but then I used my save file and didn't think about reading the description again.
Yeah, right, that makes sense.
And forgot. But then you reminded me, and then I just restarted or replayed a earlier save, I think one of the first saves, and just played correctly instead.
So you said you are thinking about giving the map a review on Haven?
Yeah, I'm going to do that maybe this weekend.
Yeah, I'd be glad if you do, as always. Also, this was your mod challenge, so congratulations, you did beat it. Quite an impressive job with all the things you've built. I especially like the block designs. They are very efficient while retaining your personality by using all the different decorations, not just the soulless ones. Also good use of all the other things. You didn't use the extra capacity on getting granaries, which is good. It means that you really did optimize it really well. Used a bunch of different food sources.
Wasn't that much of a problem honestly.
Just need to know where to get it and just farm and fish.
Exactly. So it was a fun map. There was just about enough space to build some blocks, but it was a struggle to make them
Yeah.
work well as well.
I actually did use, when I was playing, I did use this area for my patricians. You can see that it's quite flat over here. Not that many rocks. Also, I've seen people use this for a block.
That seemed risky for me. It felt like
Yeah, it's very
a
close.
lot of invasions.
That's why, actually, the thing I had in mind with this is an invasion point, this is an invasion point, and here as well. So, if you remember Mediolanum campaign mission, what you can do is wall this, and then the enemies will all path towards here. Or you could do the same thing up here, just wall this, and they will all come here. So you can kinda use this area and be safe, or you can use this area and be safe.
Yeah, I know about that tactic, but I kind of want to avoid it if I can. I prefer to use my military and protect where
I
they
also
have.
use my military, but I make them go where I want. Because otherwise, it's like walkers, they just cause all sorts of mischief when you let them decide things. So about this place, it's pretty rocky, right? Yeah, even the edges aren't like free of rocks. It's just everywhere.
And it felt like it would be hard to get some food over there.
Yeah. Over here, it's also not terrible. It's just fairly flat, but again, not taxable easily, so it kinda sucks.
And I couldn't get the food to cover all of that.
Yeah, this is limited.
But you can see where the marble warehouse is. I had to put some extra decorations to make the houses happy further up. I had to put decorations around it just to make the houses happy because they kept complaining.
Yeah, it's just this rocky area is really difficult to squeeze anything in. I do remember that. Also, yeah, so there is a forum over here. And you can squeeze something in here, as you talked about it, like line block or something, but this cliff makes it really awkward. Because otherwise you would just build it here, but it's not possible. So that... Apart from that, I'm trying to see if I can talk about something else. I think it covers pretty much everything though.
The only thing I kind of missed, it's only like a small detail on the map, but I think it would have been fun to have a different elevation where you could build some blocks at least.
Oh yeah, right.
So there was some variation with the with elevation. But it's only a minor thing. It wouldn't really have changed anything. It would have just given a slight variation to the map.
Yeah. I guess, again, you probably could squeeze in like a line block, but line blocks are so suboptimal. You never want to go for them if you can have any other choice in life, basically. So that's why.
Exactly.
Also, these farming spots are so deceiving. Did you try to place farms here? It's just one.
I tried them at one point, but I didn't need them in the end. I was planning on getting oil there, but it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, same thing. I think I used it for oil, actually. But it's just deceiving. You see it and you say like, oh yeah, at least a couple of farms, but no. It's one per this area and this area. Hey, my industry, welcome. We're just about to wrap it up though. Yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Quite impressive performance here. I don't think many people have beaten it on Augustus, and those who did struggle quite a bit. And it took you a while, but I managed to get it, and it's different. You did build a couple of things differently than I did, and overall I think you utilized all the tools you had available pretty well. Some of the forums were used.
In total playtime it didn't take that long,
yeah,
but I didn't have that much time to play, so it stretched out for a long time in real life.
Yeah, makes sense. What do you think about the concept of pre-placed irreplaceable buildings like the Vines Farm and the Forum?
I really like the wine farm at least, and the forums, but restricting the small temples was just an annoyance, really. I can see the point of it, but it didn't bring anything to the map, I think.
Yeah, the reason behind it was force you to use labor camp and architects guild early, so labor, and plus getting them to blocks is actually a bigger problem because otherwise it would be just slapped down a single temple, and if it's a small temple it's 2 by 2, while this bigger one is 3 by 3, and it makes it more difficult to fit it in these awkward spaces. So that was the reason behind it. But yeah, it feels like it's really just another layer of unnecessary complexity, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was just that it got a bit much with the unemployment problems, favor problems, trading problems, and then there was religion problems as well. It was like
everything's a problem here.
Exactly. Yeah. So I see the point of it, but it was a little bit annoying.
I can definitely see why. I did get annoyed by it as well when I was playing it. So not alone. But sometimes people just need to suffer, you know?
Yeah, for sure. On a map where like maybe favor isn't as bad, then it would be totally fine to have the small temples locked like it is on this map.
Yeah, especially like early and mid game, investment into temples is so huge, especially when the trade prices are so pathetic. It's really difficult to handle it. So yeah, great job on that. I think you've earned your sword pretty well.
How nice.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, so feel free to post a review on Haven. I would like to see it, and yeah, if you want more maps, I did recommend one more too. I don't know if I have it, if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think I should be able to find it.
Yeah, you can find it yourself. It's pretty similar to this one, but not as crazy. In terms of all the different challenges, the trade prices are better there. And it's central map, and I think you do have wheat. So that's something. It's also not too crazy militarily, so you should like it.
Okay.
Alright, so that's gonna be it for today. I'm probably gonna play something else in a bit, but for now, this is gonna be it for taking a look. We did spend over an hour on this, so as a single map evaluation, I think that's quite sufficient. We talked about a lot of things, a lot of different opinions.
I thought it would take half an hour.
I do think that also like things that were mentioned here also are personal opinions, so of course people can beg to differ, that's fine. There are guides out there by reasonable people how to design your maps and what to do, what you should not do. And I think usually these maps do follow these recommendations in terms of not having fluctuating wages up and down because it's just micro, not having collapsing things, not having what is the other annoying attack? Yeah, first attack on a map being natives and it's a massive one. It's just there's no way to be prepared and you just suddenly die. It's always great. Huge earthquake in the middle of place where you will build because it's so good. And it happens like mid-game, so it definitely shakes your city. These sorts of things are better avoided, so all of this needs to be kept in mind. And I think this map did a reasonable job at avoiding the striking things that are usually considered bad in terms of map design, but it's rough in terms of the start. It's just that you start with so little money, and the new Augustus update with the health system actually did cripple the city much more early on, which I did play the new health system here as well, and I found it really more difficult with that.
Yeah, you had to build the houses really quickly to be able to get the population you were going to lose in a year or two.
Yeah, and you start and the pestilence happens like very quickly, because it's a safe edited map, which means that I had to place the houses, and it took some time and people accumulated disease already. So, you know, that's how it works. Can we see a new map on Haven Games from Augustus Boy after? Looks interesting. I did see him post one. Let's take a look at it. It's called Gujarat. Yeah, it's a desert map. It looks fairly interesting. I think we will play it at some point, but not sure if today. Probably can't pull it off. It doesn't seem like it has too high a prosperity goal, 85. All the ratings seem reasonable unless there is massive military challenge, which there might be, you never know. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this evaluation. Again, thanks for tuning in, Fairbuy. Thanks for the commentary and providing some insights on it. And thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, no problem. So, see you guys around. Bye.